and welcome back to another episode of Let We Hear from Doc. I'm your host, Amanda Japal, and with me is Dr. the Right Honorable Keep Claudius Mitchell. So, Dr. Mitchell, how are you doing today?
Oh, fine, fine. I'm getting on with it.
So, let's just jump right into it, right? The Trump administration has signaled its intention to impose a tariff on Chinese built vessels. So, what are the likely implications of this policy for Grenada and countries in the region?
Well, I think there are two aspects of the initiative that can have enormous impact on the region and individual countries in the region. Their decision on Chinese ships are going to be very important for impact on the region because many of the ships that bring goods and services to the region are originally made in China, and therefore that will have impact on cost, and of course increases the value of services for those goods that we buy and sell, and the tailors will have to pass on the prices to the consumers, so that is clear is going to impact. And the other parts will come direct taxes that he's imposing on individual countries' goods coming to America, which of course will also increase cost. So one has to be able to understand that whatever we do, we have to prepare ourselves in case that these initiatives come true, because you never know with Trump. Today, he decides he's going to impose a tax, and tomorrow he says he's going to exempt this country and exempt this one, or not implement, and the next day he comes back and said it's something else. So it is a problem that I think everyone who deals in a very serious way with America, as particularly respect to import-export activities, will have to be concerned about, because you really never can plan appropriately for this. So it's a serious issue, and I think I've heard many of the leaders, a few leaders in the regions, spoke out on this already. I've heard nothing from our own prime minister about this, and how does the country prepare itself for any eventual taxes that take effect on goods imported to the country as a whole. And I think that is something that we all have to be concerned. So it seems to me that our initiative, and when we are in government, bringing all stakeholders together and to look at serious national issues, and for to hear everyone at the table, any ideas they have on how we can deal with this issue. It should have been something that should have been used as an example going forward. But this government, anything the NMP did, in fact, they see it as a no-no, when in fact it might be in their best interest to do so. Because having the business community at the table, the trade union movement representing the workers, the NGO community, what is ever left of it, the religious community, and the opposition, all at the table together, is the best way to proceed when you're dealing with issues of national importance that can impact on every citizen, whether you're a government supporter or an opposition supporter, or you're not support of any. So that's, I think, is something that has to um, seriously hope the government revisit this, because they are the government of the day, and any initiative that requires changes in how we operate has to have the support of the government. So therefore, the ball is really in their court. We are making suggestions and providing advice accordingly, but we are not policymakers. We can't initiate those policies, and that therefore that would be my take on that particular issue of the Trump tariff and Trump other initiative of Trump that has the impact on the economy of all countries in the region. I understand that Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, met with the leaders of the region. I have not had a result of. I've heard statements made about this positive meeting, but what does that mean? Does it mean that they have been assured that the tariffs and other initiatives that have impact on cost of goods, that it will not, they have agreed that they will exempt the Caribbean countries from that? I don't know. Is it that the issue related to those who do business with Cuba and Venezuela will now have to face additional taxes? I don't know what the consequences are, because in the case of Cuba, it probably involve all of us, because almost every single Caribbean country benefited enormously from the health workers initiative with the Caribbean countries. I know Cuba, during our time in government, we had a number of Cuban doctors who provide enormous medical support and services to the region as a whole. So this is something that has to concern every single Grenadian, every single Caribbean man or woman.
You just spoke on policy, but this same Trump policy announcement was made prior to our national budget. So have you seen any policy initiatives
No,
in
it
the
was not
budget?
even addressed.
Yeah.
And not only you have not seen, it was not even addressed in the budget, and which is, it tells you something about the lack of preparedness of this government for serious issues. You know, I shudder to to even think of a government what is now in office would have come to office in 2013 when there was no money in the treasury, where that we had no serious development activities in the country, and where we had to get our friends to bail us out initially, and then plan for further development in the country by being fiscally responsible and so on. I shudder to believe how, if there were a group like that, not necessarily them, a group like this. So the result, the real fact is that you've seen nothing in this government that make you believe that they sit down and plan and look at what is happening. They met a good thing, as they said, pregnant treasury. They met serious plans in place, a number of projects, which they up to now can't even finish any one of them in a significant way, just overspending, and you don't know what is being done. And there is no serious initiative of any other project. Any with all the resources that seem to have been expended, you have not seen. We have plans for $300-400 million a hospital. I mean, where is that money coming from, and how is that going to be sustained? All these things and that you see, you hear about, not see. It's problematic as far as I'm concerned, and therefore, as a country, I think we need to be examining this and look at what will happen if we do not take stock very quickly.
Um, we're still on the topic of the budget, but I remember a few years back, persons used to call NMP the government for roads, but right now people are complaining that
Yes.
the roads aren't well constructed. So staying on that topic, we noticed that there was over $75 million cut in the budget for the Ministry of Infrastructure and Works. What does this mean for road repairs, maintenance, and just general
I
infrastructure?
think more the thing is who's the minister of works. The minister of works is the person who appointed himself as such, the prime minister, who's never really in the country. So I don't know how you could be a minister of works and hardly around to see what's happening in the country as a whole. So when I hear the same person complain about a minister's non-performance, my feeling that he needs to look at himself first, because his area of service is probably one of the worst in terms of the outlook and perception of the people. So I think it's important. And in life, I always say that to people, friends of mine and myself, whenever something is wrong around you, the first person you look at is yourself. After you examine your role in the overall image, then you can look at other people. But to start blaming other people, you're almost implying that you are the standard for success, and therefore the others are not performing. And I'm pretty sure a lot of his men and women supporters and government might be watching and say, but look who talking, that sort of thing going forward. But that is the nature of the present leadership of the government, who doesn't seem to have a clue or understanding what it takes for serious development in the country. And when I say this, they don't like to hear it, but that's they can't do anything about it. I will continue to say it as I see it.
We see a heavy reliance on CBI revenues to finance part of an already deficit budget. The developed world continues to make moves to pressure CBI countries in the region. So, what do you think we should do to support this
Well,
sustainability?
even with the heavy emphasis on CBI resources, as they projected in this present budget, they're still talking about $800 million of loan, the appropriation that they are looking forward to raise. And therefore the question is, how are they raising these monies? And how would they intend to pay back for these additional loans that they intend to take, which is going to be a serious issue. Um, and and I must say there was a time in I think it was 2012 when a budget was presented by NDC, claiming that they have to raise over $600 million to meet their projection for activities in the budget, and that's why in almost the whole year hardly anything was done because they were not able to raise these loans because they're clearly where you're getting these loans from. The IMF will not give you for the massive expenditure on personnel and the increase allocation for a current expenditure through personnel, additional personnel, creation of a bigger bureaucracy. No one will give you money to support it. In fact, it's the reverse. They have to see that you're cutting expenditure on the bureaucracy, but creating jobs, but not necessarily within the public sector. And therefore, the question is, World Bank will not give you soft loan. Either sources are not going to be available for you. And therefore, you have to go to commercial banks. Anytime you go to commercial activities, then you have to show how you are going to repay those resources. It doesn't matter who you are, whether it's a government or on individual. So I don't have a high expectation of even that project they talk about will come true. And that. So, and in any event, relying on the sales of your passports are not necessarily a very innovative way of managing your country. So because clearly that's with the initiative now taken by European Parliament, which expect that it will put some serious restrictions on CBI citizens. They already did the passage of that restriction at one level, and it goes to another level before it goes to the European Parliament. And given the extent of support at the lowest level, I don't I don't have a great um, hope that the European Parliament will not pass it. So the chances of reduction of even their projection for revenue from CBI resources and all the countries in the region would have to come to terms with that, not just Grenada. It seems to me that more reason why there must be serious preparation for alternative ways of generating resources. So growing your economy has to be a fundamental way where you can cushion any effect of additional expenditure that you have to, or the reduction in resources that are available in a particular item like CBI. And we have seen no initiative or plans for the taking additional initiatives to be able to deal with that fundamental problem. And because there's no real vision coming from this government as far as planning for development is concerned. A lot of talk, a lot of running around, and as I say, you say in cricket, a lot of whooping, so to speak, and hoping that you connect and the ball will go to the boundary. It doesn't work that way.
I think the theme for the budget is what? Vision 70. Well, this
I think the vision starts there and ends there.
Well, this
It's
seems
a words, 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 nothing to match the words.
mouth open and mouth jump out.
It's up there, so that's a lot of, we see a lot of that, I mean, and we see it over and over in many respects, especially coming from our Prime Minister.
Well, let's move on. There seems to be a rediscovery of oil and gas. Would you like to comment on that?
I like the word rediscovery, I like it because when we had scientific studies, seismic studies were done by a reputable international organization, and the results came out, and we gave the results. It's data that is there. We didn't make that up. We were accused of lying and trying to create the atmosphere for us to win an election. And I don't know why would you do this when in fact the facts will come out later, one way or the other. And the same people who were against CBI when we started are the ones doing more sales of passports, several more times than we did. And the same people were saying there were no oil and gas, and now saying that if they have done nothing. It's only the documents which we have in place that they have now read and realized that we were not faking. And to tell you the truth, I believe they knew we were not faking, but it's to create a political that perception that we were not telling the truth. They did it deliberately. So now they have to eat their own words, and so that's their problem. And I always say things when you do things that are not necessarily truthful, you have to realize one day you would have to come back and eat those words, and that is precisely what is happening to this government. So they have no leg to stand on when they're dealing with oil and gas. Now to be able to get investors to extract whatever possibilities exist, because we know there were quite significant level of oil, but most of the resources were, in fact, gas. And gas is a popular entity in the 21st century, right? And because the whole emphasis of environmental activities with gas being far more relevant or better for that issue than oil. So hopefully that they may be able to get an investor, a person's interest in, to be able to access the resources, and therefore the country will benefit from this. But I don't know, I can't say. And these things do not happen overnight. I doubt you will see any significant movement in that area before a general election.
And well, all that they have proven is that you were telling the truth.
Well, we're always telling the truth, so we knew that. The population now has to understand that lots of the things, one good thing, Amanda, about the NNP is most of our pronouncements, almost all of it that we've made, that people are doubting, have come out to be truthful. In fact, because all the accusation against me have proven to be false. And every time they come up with something against me, people know that it's false. So they don't have any credibility. And with respect to development, the same thing. And that's their problem. So they have a credibility issue, which I don't know that they can correct easily, because they have developed a pattern of behavior which is very difficult for anyone to be able to give them a pass, so to speak.
Well, let's move away from all these hardcore questions. Politics is demanding, and you have been in the public eyes for decades. How have you managed to balance leadership, family, and personal well-being? Because you're running on the treadmill 90 minutes.
Yeah, yeah. No, well, I think one has to, in life, you have to balance the things that are important to you and find time for each of this. And when I was going to school, I there were some loves of mine that I always wanted to be um, to 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 feel that I am giving time to. I love sports, so I gave a lot of time to cricket. Of course, I always loved being successful academically, so I always found time to do this. And clearly, my relationship with people, the community and family, I gave time. So you have to apportion time for each of those categories. One must not be at the expense of the other. And I think overall, I can say I did a reasonably good job in balancing those so that my relationship with people and families generally turned out over the years. It's not been perfect, but certainly overall, you can say been successful. My 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 involvement in sports in cricket, um, being a successful cricketer during my period of in cricketing days, captain Grenada and captain Winmud Leeward youth team, playing cricket in Barbados with some of the test players of the past, one of the most successful cricketing um, organization, Barbados Empire Cricket Club, with about 5 test players. I was there playing with among those persons. So I could say that I reach a certain level in cricket, and clearly academically from my academic success. I don't talk a lot about that, but it's well known and so on. So I think by giving time to each of those, I can't say that any one of them suffered enormously because of my involvement in the other areas. And that's how one has to do in life. You have to be able in the things that you love and appreciate, you have to be able to find time for each of them in 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 and ensuring that you are successful in each of those. I certainly can't say I was perfect in any one of them, but certainly I believe I've been reasonably successful during that period.
So, how do you unwind and relax after a long day of political work?
No, well, I have friends, and you know me. I love a good game of dominoes, and of course, and in my days as a good party boy, the music, I love music, and when I go on the dance floor, they couldn't get me out. You know, I used to I lived in Washington. I used to literally, um, I was the last person leaving the floor. 5 o'clock in the morning, I'm still dancing. And guys used to be one of the last persons there. So I love people and I love music. I love a good time and so I always find time for to relax and my friends. So like now almost every Friday afternoon when I was in Prime Minister, we played dominoes on a Friday evening, you know, with the boys, my friends, and so on. And that to me is important to be able to relax. You can't be in anything or just find yourself just all your time taken just every day in some serious activity. And then political life is very taxing. And to have to deal with political issues for 24 hours, I can't do this. And therefore, I have a time to break off and enjoy yourself, relax yourself. And therefore, I must say that I continue to have good fun going forward. And I love people. And I love and being involved in activities where people I couldn't be in a situation where people didn't exist and to be live like a hermit. That's not me. I always must like people around.
What has been your most rewarding experience out of your service?
I think helping people, particularly persons that are less capable of helping themselves in resources, lack of resources. I think by coming from a family who had little or nothing, and you know what poverty is like, and or you wanted things and could not have it, so you know what it means. You grew through that. You grew through that. So when I see someone who needs help, and I'm able to do it, and I'm able to do it, like in many cases, there's a pride that comes to you watching that person succeed. A number of people come to me these days and they meet, I don't even remember the stories and tell me, do you know you helped me with my daughter, you helped me with my son. And today there's an engineer, there was a doctor, there was a this. And I don't some cases I don't remember because I don't help people because I expect to get something from them. And in many cases I don't remember because I feel that I was fortunate enough to be given the opportunity from where I came from to which where I am. And I feel God has something to do with this. And He said, listen, you have to use the opportunity I have given you to help others, to bring others up. And I remember I always tell the story of, um, um, I mean, teaching. Um, I always get very upset when I'm teaching a classroom and I see a child from poor family fool around in class.
Mhm.
And I used to be tough on them. So I had a story of my own man that when I was teaching at Presidential College in the 70s, and this young man come from the country, and he saw him fooling around with guys whose parents already
Mhm.
had it there. Yeah, they were able to take care of themselves. And I was tough on him. I sent him to the office, to the principal a few times, and he was punished. So I remember after I came home from university, or I was when I climbing a shop in the Carnage area, and this young man was there. And the guys were buying drinks and having fun, guys I knew, birthdays, playing cricket. And there was this guy who was very serious and he wouldn't take a drink and so on. So after a time, he said me, praised the weather, and he said to me, I hated you. No. So I said, why? So you remember how many times you used to send me to the office? And because of so and so, and I didn't feel I deserve this. I said, well, let me tell you something. No, you see it. No, I could remember that I felt you knowing where you came from. And I know I might have been tough on you, maybe tougher than I would have, should have been. But because I was seeing you in me, and I said, look, I can't understand if you don't understand that those you are fooling around with already had the bread button
Mhm.
and yet you could not afford. And I felt I had to put that pressure, additional pressure. He became my friend afterwards, and he always, because he understood then
Mhm.
what my initial reaction was. So helping people, watching people go from one stage in life to a successful stage, and being part of that process, I would say that's one of the most rewarding aspect of my life. So I think involving people is certainly something that I consider to be the best. What I would always say that I enjoy more than anything else. There's successes and sports and academic and so on. You as an individual, you're happy to have. They don't come into to qualify ahead of the feeling I get
Mhm.
from helping people move on up the ladder,
Mhm.
socially and otherwise.
Well, we're about to wrap up,
Mm.
but can you tell us a story, one of your fondest memories from your childhood?
Oh boy, that's a heavy one, you know. Amanda. That's a heavy one. What can I say? I grew up. Um, my mother used to bake, sell bread, a big and we go out and sell in the community. And my big sister used to be have to sell in Happy Hill, and I would have to go and sell in Brazil. That's where we were born. I was born there. Um, so we would when she finished baking in the afternoon many times we wouldn't wait in the morning to go out to Brazil because at those bread vans from bakeries would be ahead of you, so we had to head to Brazil and get out there early to be able. And guys, I remember well, so I used to be able to competing with the different shops selling bread, and because of my relationship as a young man before I had to go to school in the morning. Yeah? So years later, I noticed every time I sell bread, my mother always gave uh, 2 pence for every shilling bread we sell. Those days you call it shilling. And so every time, and I was good at checking monies, but every time I finish sell and the bread is finished, I can't get my money. Because but so I just wonder what happened because I didn't used to know because I didn't short. I didn't believe I gave anybody. Gee, years later, you guys tell me they used to engage me, and while they're talking to me, another one goes in the basket. And the guys later said one fellow tell me, boy, when I came over at it for electricity, I must vote for you. I stole enough for your bread. So, I mean, when you go back and you had to laugh at this because I used to wonder, how come I'm not able? I couldn't tell my mother because all I wanted to make sure she gets her monies. So the 2 pence on every shilling bread is I'm the one that's losing. But the guys were taking all the bread and I didn't.
Confession is good for the soul.
So these are stories. I've done so much young stories growing up. You could sit, and they will sit and talk. A lot of these stories would be a program by itself. And there's so much of this growing up, and when you grow up in a community where people operate as family. Everyone see you as a family, and therefore, whether they're blood family or not, they take a pride in your success. They take a pride in advising and scolding you and so on. So you learn a lot from the community you grew up in, um, because of who you were and who your family structure and the advice given by your parents and other people in the community who were not necessarily family persons, but who took a part in your own building as a human being going forward.
So, Duff, as we close, I'll give you a word and you can say anything on it. Right? So, your word for today is love.
Well, love is love is the answer for everything. Yeah, that's what I would say. If as a person, if you really, really care for people, you have to love first. Love yourself first. Because if you don't love yourself, you can't really love anybody else. That's my fundamental view. So love, I say, as the song says, love is the answer for almost everything. Some people see opportunities and be in top positions, and whether you're prime minister or a minister or you're in some religious organization at the top, see it as a something uh, of of so much importance that they don't see the value of love. It is not the position you have. It's the love and respect that you give to your community and to people and not they give to you. That is really what life is all about.
Okay, thank you so much, Doc. Thank you so much for your time. Um, guys, remember to like, share, and subscribe to our channel.